Alright, so hello guys and welcome back to our class about Microsoft Excel, the complete introduction. So in today's class we are going to talk about the if function, which is another function of Excel. The if function is one of the most important functions in Excel since it's one of the most used. This function, honestly, you will have to use it. Like, it's something that is very important, and in any type of project that you are working in, the if function will have to be used. Well, more advanced projects. In basic projects, not really, but in more advanced projects, if you want to make your first applications, well, you will have to use it. So how works the if function? First of all, you want to open up your Excel file, be on your home page, then simply choose a cell, write down equal, and write down if. It's gonna be the first one here. So the if function is divided in three main parts. So you have the logical test, the value if true, and the value if false. How it works? So the logical test is, let's say, your formula. So let's say cell 1 equals cell 2. So let's create it. So let's say this will be cell 1, so it's here, 20. And cell 2 will be, let's say, 20. So we're gonna write down our function. If cell 1 equal cell 2. So this is our logical test. It could be, for example, if cell 1 is bigger than cell 2, if cell 1 is smaller than cell 2. And well, you can write down any logical test you want. Then, if this is true, well, after that, you're gonna write down a comma. If this is true, what answer you wanna write down? So let's say you wanna write down yes. So how you'll write down your yes? You have to put those little things first. Then you put yes. And if this is false, what will be your answer? Let's say this will be no. So once again, you want to write down those little things here. So as you can see, cell 1 equals cell 2. So your answer is yes. If, for example, cell 1 doesn't equal cell 2, well, the answer will be no. So as I said, it's very simple. It's really divided in three little things: the logical test, the value if true, the value if false. It can work. It can work for bigger applications, but for the moment we just are gonna stay. We are just gonna talk about some smaller applications like those ones. So another variation of the if function will be the if or. So let's say you start your if function, then you write down or. So in this case, you will have more than only one logical test. So let's say this cell, well, I'll have to write down another cell for this. So you will have cell 3. So if you have more than one logical test, you can use this function. So equal value if true. So let's say here we go. So logical test 1. So your first, let's say this cell equal to this, or this cell equal to this cell. When you're done, you just close those little things, write down your comma. If it's true, you write down yes. If it's false, you write down no. So as you can see, the first logical test is F21 equal to G21. In this case, F21 doesn't equal G21, but F21 is equal to H21. So the answer at the end will be yes, because just one of those formulas has to be right. If both are right, well, the answer will still be yes. If only one is right, the answer will be yes. But if both of those are wrong, well, the answer will be no. So let's try it out. Let's say here it's 12. So as you can see, the answer is no. So you can do this for multiple, well, if you have multiple formulas that you want to test, you can do it for multiple formulas. But in this case, it's really one variant of the if function. So as I said, you can write it down with the if, or you can do it if or. So let's say here you have your if. Well, if you want to test more than one formula, you just write down if, then you write down your or, and you can write all your logical tests, then value if true, value if false. The last variation of the if function, will be the if error. So let's say, for example, you in your worksheet you have an error. So let's make another example. So let's say here we'll have A. So the first thing I'm gonna write down will be if. It's gonna be the second one here, if error. So as you can see, if there is an error here, they will write down what's gonna happen. They will write down the value 12. If not, it's gonna be 20. So let's do another way. I wrote down 12. It's not really easy to understand. So let's say, for example, this cell will give you an error. So like this, you have error value. Well, here I choose to write down error. I can write down any phrase that I want. For example, it's an error. So I will receive this answer right here. So it's the same logical test. So if this cell right here is an error, if I have an error here, well, it's gonna be this the answer. So how this if formula is divided? So it's divided in two parts. So you choose your cell. It's gonna be the value. For example, if there is no errors, you will have the value of the cell. If there is an error, well, you will have the value of the error. You just write down the value of the error. So let's say you have a massive database, and you want to have the answer for a particular cell. Let's say if you want to look at this cell, and if this cell is an error, and you want to have, for example, 0, if you have any kind of error, you want this error to become a 0. Well, instead of having errors and make huge mistakes, you can just write down 0. So instead of having an error here and all your work will not work, well, you can just put down 0, and your if error will be 0. So let me summarize how this works, the if error work. So you simply choose your cell. The first thing you want to do, you write down if error. You choose your cell right here. So if the cell right here is not an error, it's a regular number, well, it's gonna give you back the number. If you have any kind of error right here, it can be value, it can be any other type of errors in the Excel sheet, well, it's gonna be the value if error right here. So to summarize this class, the if function, we have 3 types of if. We have the if function, the if or function, and the if error function that we saw in this course. Very, very important for you guys to understand how this works. You can rewatch this class if you didn't understand it 100%, because it's gonna be very, very important for our next classes, especially when we are going to make our class project at the end of the course, and for our second homework that will be at the end of this part. So that's it for this class, guys, and see you all in our next course where we are going to talk about the lookup function.